So Peter, your new book, 0 to 1, please explain what 0 to 1 refers to.
It refers to breakthrough technological innovation, how you go from to the first of something, the first airplane, the first car, the first computer, the first search engine, the first operating system company, the first social networking company. And my thesis is that these are the really valuable companies and businesses that will take our civilization to the next level. And in my book, I talk about everything I've learned about how to build one of these businesses, from everything from a strategy perspective to a hiring perspective, a foundation perspective, all the things that I know about building business.
And so historically, what's something that you've been connected to that epitomizes your approach?
Well, certainly a lot of the consumer internet businesses have this feel where they get a certain amount of momentum, they get enormous traction, and then it's almost impossible for anybody to catch up. Certainly something like this would be true of PayPal, of LinkedIn, of Facebook, Airbnb. A lot of the great consumer internet businesses have this kind of a feel to them. Software in general is an area where this is quite doable, and I think it's one of the reasons why there have been so many vast fortunes created in software. I think it's sort of one of the crazy things that goes on is that a lot of the people who invent things never do that well from their inventions, and sort of in the history of innovation in the last 250 years. Because to do well with an innovation, two things have to be true. Number one, it has to be valuable to the world, and number two, you have to capture some fraction of the value you create. And so, if you look at, if you look at the Wright brothers with the first plane, or even many of the car companies in the 1920s, people did not actually make great fortunes in those businesses, and it often has been these breakthrough businesses that are one of the kind where the great fortunes have been made.
A macro question, where do you think we are in the technology finance cycle in 2014?
Well, there certainly is always this question of whether we're again in a bubble like 99, 2000, and all of those who lived through the late 90s always come back to that question because it was such a formative and ultimately such a traumatic experience. My own view is that it's probably not, there's definitely some things that seem frothy, people seem fairly optimistic. On the other hand, I don't think it's anywhere like the late 90s. And in particular, I think that you cannot have a bubble unless the broader public is involved, and there are far too few IPOs happening. A bubble is a psychosocial phenomenon. It only happens when the broader public is involved. There are far too few IPOs happening, and so it hasn't quite had that dimension.